a city I'd never visited before, to meet the local people and to introduce myself and to hand out leaflets about the campaign. And this was to take place on Friday the 12th of February. 10:30 in the morning. Anyway, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I was suddenly sort of apprehended by two plainclothes policemen from the Criminal Investigation Department with a warrant for my arrest on the grounds of breach of the peace.
Mm-hmm.
I was just walking along with my bag, harming no one at all, in a meeting that I'd advertised widely, and they decided to pull me off the streets before I could meet members of the media and other people, other interested parties. And I was held in the police cell, solitary cell, for over the weekend, from Friday until Monday inclusive. The police questioned me and also told me that they had also got a warrant to send officers down to my home in England, which is a 700-mile return journey, to come and raid my home and seize whatever they wanted out of my house, which they did.
And what has happened consequently? You were released, obviously, but on what grounds? What did they say to you?
Well, the Crown Office, who of course are implicated in the crimes and who have made it quite clear implicated in the crimes, did not want me to be released at all.
Mm-hmm.
I did sign certain conditions of bail, which I felt very unhappy about, especially to do with obviously I totally reject the legality of what the regime are doing, but I would not have got out had I not signed certain things, and I did manage to get myself released, because otherwise I would have been still there now, I'm sure, if I hadn't done that. But certain things have happened since then. Of course, at the time I had absolutely no idea about the public interest in the story. I knew that there'd been considerable interest since I had a speech of mine filmed on the 31st of January, which kind of brought the profile of the case up a lot more. But I had no idea when I was sort of arrested by the police what was happening in the outside world. And of course, when I was finally released, the duty solicitor there said, "Well, Mr. Green," he says, "when you leave here," he says, "you will find a number of members of the press outside, but I advise you to say as little as possible to them." And that was the first I'd heard that any great interest had been taken in my arrest. And of course, once I got outside, I was absolutely staggered when I was met by a number of enthusiastic people saying, "Gosh, everything's gone mad while you've been in there. Everybody's been on. People from all over the place, different parts of the world have been ringing up the police asking what's happened to you."
Yeah.
And it's all broken. It's all gone wild,
Yeah, yeah.
Which in a way was a very good thing for the campaign. But of course, I knew nothing until I left the court that day.
If we shift our focus a little bit over to Anne here, then, and basically, how have you and Hollie been treated consequently after, maybe not only after Robert's arrest, but from the point of time in, let's say, 2001 and afterwards? Have you been left alone? Have you been harassed? What has happened to you and Hollie? How are you holding up?
Well, after I was released, after that 3 days, I started my campaign, on my own, writing to every official body in Scotland and hitting brick walls, This went on till, I was also in contact with Women's Aid and also with the Downs Association. And Hollie was very frightened to be in Aberdeen, because all these people who'd, perpetrators were there. She was frightened that she would if we went shopping, she would bump into some of them, and she was just, wouldn't leave my side. So it was suggested that we move out of Aberdeen, and we were helped by Women's Aid and also the Downs Association to move into England, to where we are now. And we went into what you call refuge, like another hostel, and we were in the hostel from the October till the February, and then we were, given, it's like a little bungalow that we're in, all on one floor, and we've been there ever since and been still fighting, still writing letters to every, person I can, think of to try and get, this brought out into the open, because I do not believe that Hollie's case is the only case of this kind.
Right.
You know, we have found out through Hollie's medical notes, which we obtained, not that long ago, that back in 1990, Hollie suffered from a sexual transmitted disease, and I was never told about this. And the letter in her medical notes came from a Dr. Carter, and he was attached to the Children's Hospital in Aberdeen, and also to the special school that Hollie went to. And he wrote a letter to her GP and also to her headmaster, telling them that Hollie had this sexually transmitted disease, and they did nothing. They neither told me or alerted the authorities that this was going on. And then in 1992 there was another letter, again from this Dr. Carter, so that one of Hollie's teachers had spoken to him, saying that she was showing signs of pelvic thrusting with one of her little friends in her class. And again, nothing was done about it. And again, I was never told about this at all.
I think it's, if I may, Anne, I think it's important to say that the doctor also said that in the 1992 letter that Hollie's behaviour was consistent with having sexual experience.
Yes.
She was 9 when she had the sexually transmitted disease, and I think
11.
12 when the pelvic thrusting was mentioned. 11. And so the people concerned were the GP, who we've learned later is probably part of the ring, and the other person who suppressed it was the headmaster, who remains in situ and is definitely part of the ring.
Really?
An abuser of Hollie.
I guess we can clarify as well then for our listeners who don't know that Hollie is suffering from Down syndrome. How is Hollie holding up right now, Anne?
Well, when we came down, she got absolutely no help at all in Scotland. We were just, after we came out, I came out of the mental hospital, we were just left to our own devices, and I was just, writing letters of complaint all over the place. But when we came down to Shropshire, she has been given all the help that she needs. She gets special counselling. She got a wonderful lady that she was self-harming for a while, but this lady has managed to get her to put her anger onto paper instead of, harming her body. So when she gets a panic, she suffers from post-traumatic stress, because of all of this, and has panic attacks. But she takes, they wanted to put her on to Prozac, but, I'm a great believer in natural things, so she does take St. John's wort, just to sort of help her. And she gets, special ways to try and alleviate the panic, So when she feels a panic attack coming on, she's got paper and pens, and she, scores and scores and puts all her anger and fear onto the paper, till she actually tears the paper, and then she'll maybe go through maybe 4 or 5 foolscap, sheets of paper till, the panic alleviates.
Now, has any legal representative or police or whatnot approached you guys to get the full story from Hollie herself at this point?
Hollie has given 2 statements to the police already. One in 2000, which she explains fully. She describes the sexual act as pushing. Daddy's put his willy in and he pushed, and that's how she described, sexual intercourse. And in her second interview with the police, there's 59 pages that in that interview, and Hollie names all the people and tells them exactly what happened to her, by each of them.
I think if I could come in there, Henrik, I was actually, when Hollie gave her second interview of this, I was actually present. Anne was present as well, but she was being interviewed upstairs. 2 police came down from Scotland to Shropshire, where Anne and Hollie live, and we were interviewing the main town there, Shrewsbury. And Anne was taken upstairs to be interviewed on, obviously, her information, and Hollie was interviewed downstairs. and we went into the interview didn't take place at the police station because the police, certainly in England and I guess in other countries as well, often use